Namo. Hare Krishna to everybody. Welcome you all to this Wednesday morning Bhagavad Gita class. Today we are discussing from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 17, text 22. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The sloka goes like this. Adeshakale yaddanam apatrebhyascha diyate asatkritam avajñatam tattamasam udahritam. And charity performed at an impure place, at an improper time, to unworthy persons, or without proper attention and respect, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. There is a very small purport, but important point is there, so I will cover that. Contributions for indulgence in intoxication and gambling are not encouraged here. That sort of contribution is in the mode of ignorance. Such charity is not beneficial. Rather, sinful persons are encouraged. Similarly, if a person gives charity to a suitable person but without respect and without attention, that sort of charity is also said to be in the mode of darkness. Namo Vishpada Krishna Prasad Bodhe Shmati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Name Namaste Saraswati Guru and Prasad Abhishek Vachakra Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Tirtha Shri Sai Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna. So here in this sloka, it's mentioned about how if a charity is given at an improper place, at an improper time to unworthy persons, or without even proper attention and respect to a suitable person, is also in the mode of ignorance. So we'll touch these 4 points, 4 points in the next couple of minutes. So as per Shastra, charity is something that is given for one's spiritual enlightenment, upliftment, etc. Other than that, charity does not have much of a significance. I'll give you some important points that I've taken out from the scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, basically, there are 4 types of sinful activities that are there: meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit sex. Now, when a charity is given to such for performing such activities, these are called impure places. And such activities, even if they are places, if they are given in charity, it is in the mode of ignorance. I'll give some examples which I have seen. Now, there are people who give in charity places for regular slaughtering of animals. Even now, we may not see it very much here, but in some countries, foreign countries, there are places where animals, like even cows, are slaughtered. And it is not regularly authorized either by the government or by any proper sources, but they are run illegally, and there are people who give in charity such places. Charity basically means something you give which you have in excess, but the other person should be spiritually enlightened, or spiritually he should be uplifted. But when you give a place for such things like performing sinful activities, then it is in the mode of ignorance. And you also take a part of the reaction for giving that place in charity. There are also places, even in this country, some 15 years before I've seen, where people used to eat very innocent birds like rabbits, etc. Now, these are not activities that are permitted as per the scriptures, but unauthorized activities like these take place. And there are people who facilitate these by giving them place. There are people who volunteer to perform these activities, and there are people who sell these things for the sense gratification of others. So all these are sinful activities which are actually in the mode of ignorance. If you take the other example, for example, we take gambling. Now, Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport about intoxication and gambling. Now, in gambling, I've seen people who used to, I'm not much into it, but I have been associated with the corporates for about 35 plus years. And I used to deal with very rich mercantile people. And some of them used to bet on horses. And there were institutions, whether legal or illegal, who were involved in giving places. And there were some places, even today, where people give in charity places and they give other resources also, like even buffaloes for entertainment. And there are others who are betting on them. So these are not activities that are permitted because somebody, you are giving something out of your this thing, but somebody else is misusing these places for their own sense gratification by putting money on it. Another example is about uh, places where people come on holidays and weekdays. Generally, people don't have time, and I've seen those places personally myself also. Because these are all illegally organized, people assemble on a Sunday or a holiday, and elderly people who have a lot of money, they uh, have to spend their time. So they utilize the places for gambling, etc. And gambling is an illicit activity. So when a person gives a place for like that for uh, others to come and play, maybe out of a social circle or whatever it is all in the mode of ignorance. And this goes on a cyclical basis. Today this house, the next day another house, like that, so forth. There are bigger circles that inspire and instigate all these activities. And if you go and sit on a park on a holiday or any evening, you'll find these elderly people talking about how much they lost, how they lost, etc. So these are all places and situations for inspiring or instigating somebody to perform these illicit activities. Now, there are some places where people might have other interests. For example, the person who is giving a charity as a place, he may not have the intention of giving that place for that activity. But the person who is using it may utilize it to serve intoxicating drinks, uh, drugs which are not permitted. So all these are all in the mode of ignorance. Another important activity which I have seen myself personally, because I've been associated with the automobile industry for a very long time. So there were countries where even today I have some contacts here and there. So people, there are some poor people and there are some very rich class people. So when I was there, people used to come asking for donations, and these are all not very low class, but not middle class also. So they and used to take part in motorcycle racing, car racing, etc. Now, for these things, actually, there is a lot of modification that is required. Like performing a wheelie, there is a lot of modification that is required, either in the two-wheeler or if you want to participate as a car racer, a lot of modifications are required. So there are regularly people who modify these vehicles, and there are regularly people who sponsor uh, drivers or racers for these things, and they are not very well off to undertake these activities. So they used to come and approach us regularly for finance assistance. So of course, as multinational company, we never entertain all these things, but these activities used to go on very regularly, and there are people who give places, people who sponsor for people for drivers. There are people who sponsor for modification, which takes a lot of money. Even now, if you see uh, uh, people who play rummy online, some say it is free. I'm not into it, but then some say it is free. But what happens is that when a person starts playing rummy on it online, I've seen some who have been inspired to continue. How long does it take for the same person to take part of it as a sinful activity over a period of time? So that is why it is said that as long as charity is not given to a proper person uh, or to a proper place. Now, even we might see that many times people might give charity thinking that this is a religious institution, But if the receiver of this charity is not a bona fide person, and if they misuse it for the other activities, like any of these illicit sex activities, which has also happened in the past, I don't want to quote the name of the institutions, but in the name of religion, they have given ground for performing various illicit activities. So such charity is actually like giving a place for an impure activity. Then it's also mentioned about improper time. Of course, this is basically from the Karma Kanda section. But when devotees give charity, they give to those who practice religion as a religion and to the right place and to the right person. So for them, this improper time does not make a big deal. But generally, as a karma kandi, uh, many of you might be aware that people are particularly ritualistic people, so-called brahmanas, not the real brahmana. So-called brahmanas might, uh, for them, it is not right to give on a Rahu Kalam or Yamakandam. These are so many things that are there. Even like performing a marriage, people never perform at inauspicious times. So charity that is given at an impure place and this is an improper time. The next thing is to unworthy persons or without proper attention and respect is also in the mode of ignorance. Now, uh, charity as per Shastra is supposed to be offered, like I mentioned, only to for dint spiritual enlightenment. But if there is a poor man who receives a big charity, he begs, but then if he receives a big charity, and then what happens is that he uh, starts misusing these for his own sense gratification. Then it is like a poor man given who tends to misuse for sinful activities. How long does it take a person who does not have money when he gets a lot of money? Suddenly, see, people might get a lottery of 1 crore, 25, 10 crores, 12 crores. Suddenly, when they get money, then how do they utilize that money? Generally the tendency is to utilize in sinful activities. So these are all instruments for promoting charity in the mode of ignorance. There is also a quote in uh, Srimad Bhagavatam. It's an important quote relevant today. It says, money given in charity to a suitable person is guaranteed bank balance the next life. So such charity is recommended generally to be given to a Brahmana. But if the money is given in charity to a non-Brahmana, the money is returned in the next life in the same proportion. So you give something to somebody who is not a Brahmana, it gets returned in the next life in the same proportion. This is all is the benefit by giving in charity to non-qualified persons or in either form, place, money, etc. Then there is an example as to how uh, someone has got a lot of wealth, but he does not understand the mood or the attitude with which the other person might be wanting to give. The other person might not be wanting to give in charity, but sometimes a situation is raised where a person literally asks for charity and forcibly tries to take it. It is said that such person does not know without knowing others' difficulties, somebody accepts forces to give charity. That's not a suitable charity. It is said that without the person who gives charity should be in a proper mood and to give with the proper attention and respect he should give. That is a real charity, not forcing somebody else to give it. There is a nice quote which says, sacrifices, austerities, and charities performed without faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead are impermanent. That means, regardless of whatever rituals are performed, they are impermanent and they are useless in this life and the next life also. So, one should have faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead if one is giving in charity. Charity sometimes people think that I'm very rich and I have a lot of property, I have a lot of this, that, and all the things. But if somebody thinks, does not have faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and gives in charity to a suitable person also, but not with the right respect, that is also in the mode of ignorance. And one important point before I conclude the class is, there is a quote that which says that one who has accumulated wealth by the mercy of God must be vigilant to give in charity to the right person and for the right cause. And if such a right person or cause appears, or one hesitates or selfishly does not give in charity, one loses his reputation in this life and in the next also. That means somebody has got a lot of wealth, but he does not give in charity to the right person at the right time with the right, for the right cause, then that charity, one might lose even the reputation in the next life. In other words, if one gives in charity to places or people or for activities which can be used for other illicit activities like meat eating, gambling, intoxication, illicit sex, uh, he spends his hard-earned wealth, but ultimately loses fame in this life as well as the next life also. So real charity is actually given to those who are eligible for it and for their spiritual upliftment or enlightenment. Other than that, anything that is given, even out of uh, proper interest or proper respect, is in the mode of ignorance. So we can see in our day-to-day activities also, there are so many governments which are promoting illicit activities in the name of uh, that may not be taking any money for it, but in the process, they are giving room for them, for the person who are part of these, to tend to get used to these as sinful activities in future, so that the governments can make money out of these activities. So this is in a nutshell, which I have spoken about charity in the mode of ignorance. For the next 1 or 2 minutes, if any of you have got any questions, you can ask me.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
What about giving charity to your own alma mater where you have studied and they do good, free surgeries, eye surgeries? You can sponsor some surgeries.
Surgery, I mean, it's a medical
And
treatment.
because I studied from good institutions
Yeah.
like Shankar Netralaya, and
Okay. Okay.
they have a purpose, and they'll definitely not misuse it.
Okay. No, such charity can be given, but uh, we don't say don't give in charity for these institutions, because they are also for good purposes like medical treatment. That is okay. But today, basically, we are speaking about charity in the mode of ignorance, where sinful activities can be used for uh, by taking that money or whatever it is, facility is given in the charity. So there is no harm in giving such charity, but one who understands the intricacies of charity should give it to the right person, to the right, for the right cause. Otherwise, you can give, which will be returned to you in the next life, which I mentioned also. So you give in a charity to a hospital, you are indebted to the hospital because you also studied. It's okay. There's no harm in it. But uh, one should not expect any return for out of these. Otherwise, it comes in the mode of passion.
Yeah, no, naturally, we won't expect anything in return.
Okay, okay. That's okay. We don't discourage all these charities which are used for proper constructive activities, educational purpose, medical purpose. These are good, provided it is useful to the recipients for the right cause.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Mataji.
much.
Anybody else? Uh, Prabhu,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Once,
Hare
sorry.
Krishna, Mataji.
Even
Yes,
the
Mataji.
Brahmins, Prabhuji, when they take charity, a certain percentage of the charity they also have to return. The norms are like this, especially yes, especially when Karam Kanda, the death and this thing, a certain percentage they have to return back.
Yes, I mean, if you look at totally recently, some few months back, my father left his body. So they have to give it to them, but the way the Karmakandya priests today do is they demand, which is not which is neither good for them, not for the one who is utilizing their services. That is one reason we find that most of the rituals that are performed today is does not have basic any value. But out of situation, we are forced to get into it. This is the Kali Yuga.
But that goes good for anything. Even a small puja you get done, Prabhu. They come only with this is the chant. It's all it's written. If you
Now,
do this,
good or
it's
bad,
this.
we cannot say, because there is a question mark even on the Brahmanas of today, Karmakandi Brahmanas also. So, but at the same time, I have seen some Brahmanas who are practicing Karmakanda rituals, but they do a recent samskaras also.
Because probably even we, like, before, like, see, the kings and all were maintaining the Brahmanas. Today, even
Yes.
if you have to do a puja, they don't open and ask for that this is a rate, then even we don't give. That has also become a problem.
The thing is, the Brahmanas should not demand, but of course, Kali Yuga, they have to maintain themselves, because even wealthy people today are reluctant to give to Brahmanas. Even if they have, they are reluctant to give to Brahmanas. So if you have wealth and if you don't give, and if you are like a miser, that also reflects in your next life also. It affects your opulence in the next life, definitely. Even if you have and you don't give, and if you are a miserly person, you don't get that wealth in the next life. But if you utilize it in the right spirit, in the right views, then of course your wealth is returned in multiple times. This is a quote from the second canto of Srimad Bhagavad.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
What about Goshalas, Prabhuji? We don't know how they maintain. I went to a Goshala actually once to donate because I mean, after starting reading this Bhagavad Gita and all, but I found those people who are in charge of the Goshalas. They're very, very, I mean, probably not, in a proper state of mind. They were probably taking the money for themselves because the cows were not well maintained. The place was not well maintained.
Okay.
And so I
So
did
why
not
don't you
know
give
what.
why don't you give it
I
to
just,
Goshalas which are well maintained? I think ISKCON itself has got many Goshalas which are well maintained. I've seen the cows also.
then I started donating to Vrindavan Goshala, Prabhuji, just
Okay.
because the local Goshala, I thought these guys are not reliable and I did not give.
Correct. So you can always give it to some bona fide ones.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.